Sometimes we think that Vacation Bible School is just for kids. And this summer, in the midst of a time that is, very different from anything any of us have ever had, we wanted to extend Compassion Camp, not only to the kids of the church, but to everyone in the church, to reflect on what it means to be people of compassion and care and love. Not that we don't see that already in our congregation, but the reality is that's something that our world needs a lot of right now. We all know it. No matter how we feel about what's going on in the world, we know that one thing that is in short supply is compassion, or shorter supply, maybe is a better way to put it. And so over these next 5 weeks, we're going to be exploring some different ways and things to think and reflect and to feel what it means to be people of compassion. So I want you to imagine something with me for a moment. I want you to imagine you're walking through a kid's bedroom. And this kid loves Legos. You're walking through and you're walking barefoot. And you step on one of those real tiny ones, but it's got like little sharp corners on it. You know how that feels? Yeah, I do. Believe me, I do. Stepped on many of them in my house. So you know how it feels. So when you hear about somebody else doing that, you can, what's called, empathize with it. You've been there. You've stepped on a Lego before. Now, your experience was definitely somewhat different than theirs, but there's enough of an overlap that you can say, yeah, I understand what it is that you're feeling. So you imagine stepping on one of these pieces, if I was going to pull this apart, to step on this one with these little pokey ends at the end of it or whatever. We know how that would feel. Sometimes compassion needs to come in those times when we need to work towards empathy towards those who we can't totally identify what it is they've experienced or identify with it. It's going to be different for me as it is for somebody else. And so as we look at what's been going on, the protests and the cries in the streets, one of the things that's important is for us, even if we may not understand, maybe if we don't know what it means to be discriminated against, we don't know what it means feels like to be pulled over just because of the color of your skin, to work on what it means to be empathetic and to try to understand. There's a story that has a lot to do with empathy and compassion. It's a story that many people know as the prodigal son in the Bible. But I want you to take a look at this next video that tells that story again. And as you watch that, I want you to take a few moments maybe after you're done, to reflect on, maybe you need to write some things down. There's going to be another activity I'll offer to you in the next video. To take some time to try to feel empathy for each of the characters in the story. For the younger son who goes off and squanders it all. For the father. And for the older son. It's easy with all of them to kind of write them off in some way, but how can you have empathy for each? Just take a moment and do that after you watch this video.
Get it? And so he tells them a famous parable that goes like this.
There was a father who had 2 sons.
The older son is trustworthy and honors his father.
And the younger son, he's a mess. He rebels and cashes in his inheritance to travel far away and blow it all on partying and being stupid.
And then there's a famine in the land. and he runs out of money. So he has to scrape by taking care of somebody's pigs. And he's so hungry he wants to eat the pig slop, at which point it occurs to him, if I'm gonna be a farmhand, I might as well go home and work for my dad. At least I won't be eating pig food. So he treks back home, rehearsing his apology.
Now, the father is certain that his son did not survive the famine. But then, one day, he sees someone walking down the road. It's his son. He's not dead. And so the father runs to him and embraces his son, kissing him all over.
The son starts his speech. Dad, I don't deserve to be your son. Maybe I could come and work for you.
But before he can finish, the father calls his servants to go get the nicest robe, new sandals, a fancy ring for his son. They are to prepare the best food for a banquet. It is time to celebrate.
Now later that day, the older brother arrives from a long day working in the field to discover his long-lost loser brother has come home, and they're celebrating?
And he gets angry. And think about it. He's been faithful to his father all of these years. He never got a party like this. And then this disgrace of a family member comes home, and they're going to celebrate him? It's disgusting. He refuses to join the banquet.
So the father finds the older brother outside, and he says,
Son, you are already in our family. Everything I have is yours. But we had to celebrate your brother because he was lost. And now he's found. He was dead, but now he's alive.
Jesus wants the religious leaders to see the outsiders the way God sees them, as sons and daughters that are being reclaimed from death.